So good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's NOVA Advanced Training. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Narina Makijan, Chair, Assistant Vice President of the Los Angeles Regional Consortium, and I'm honored to welcome you to actually our fifth NOVA training session in our seven-part series. Today's session is focused on advanced NOVA functionality. It's definitely a Monday. Best practices and system capabilities. The training is designed to support NOVA super users as we deepen our shared understanding, strengthen compliance, navigate grant types, maximize system tools, and advance the collective work of our region with clarity and purpose. So please note that this session will be recorded and made available on the LARC YouTube channel. Today, and for all of our sessions, we are fortunate to have Ryan Hatcher leading this exceptional series for our region. Ryan is a former Chancellor's Office consultant and a recognized expert in community college workforce programs and the NOVA system. He has led major data reporting and grant management initiatives for the California Community Colleges Chancellor's Office and has been a trusted NOVA training resource from 2020 through 2024. We are grateful to have his expertise guiding today's session. And with that, Ryan, I'll turn it over to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. It's nice to be with all of you today. This is a fun session because this is where we kind of look at some of the things that the system can do, maybe some things we aren't doing yet or things that could do better. One of the things that I'm just going to point out is that I'm not going to be going into a lot of the basics. So if y'all get confused because you might be new to the system, apologies. This is all recorded. Maybe check out the basic training one, come back to it. But we are going to be going pretty deep, and I'll be going through some functionality that if you've been using the system for a while, you probably recognize. If you're new, then you might get lost, but like I said, it's probably still good information to keep in your mind. With that in mind, I understand that a lot of you on the call today probably know more and probably some of the more advanced users. So if you do have questions, feel free to just stop me, raise your hand. I'll be monitoring the chat. I've got two screens, which is nice. So I'll be able to see if you got questions, and I'll just feel free to ask. So with that, let's get started. So this is our agenda for today. I'm going to start with some common issues, which is a good place to start, just really normal things that people get tripped up by a lot. This is actually also part of the basic one, but I just wanted to restate it because these are common. One of the big things that we always talk about in NOVA is the roles and permissions piece. This is one of the more complicated things in NOVA, so we're going to spend some time talking about what that means and kind of how to make that work for you a little bit better. And then we'll go into some we're calling new and underutilized features. So this is things that you might not know about, but they may have been in the system for a while, or they might be new. There's a couple of cool new things I was going to show you and some stuff that's been around and no one uses. So some features that we should be using more, frankly, and I'll rant about that later. It's something we chat about a lot. And then I did a little preview. We've got some features coming up that I was going to kind of give you guys a little preview of that's coming up in the next, I don't know, few months. So let's get started. All right. So common issues. This is just restating. I'll go over this one quickly. Anytime there's something funky that happens, if the screen doesn't load, one of the things I always remind people right off the bat is NOVA is a web-based application. It is entirely contingent to load properly on your browser. So if your browser doesn't load a page right, which happens sometimes, it's a big program, a lot of bells and whistles, just refresh. Just do a force refresh. It fixes a lot of problems. This is something we'll go over in a minute. But if you cannot interact with anything that you should be able to interact with, that's one of the most common things we get on the help desk. It's usually a matter of not having the role. So if you have a plan or a fiscal report that you're supposed to be editing and you can't do anything, you can't interact with it anyway, it's probably a roles issue. We'll talk about that. Fiscal reporting always confuses people. Fiscal reports are only visible when plans are certified. That actually is updated. I need to update my PowerPoint. Fiscal reports are now visible when plans are certified or when plans are submitted or not certified. They're not editable though. Fiscal reports are still locked down when plans are being edited. And then similarly, fiscal reports, this is still true and always will be. Fiscal reporting is always sequential, meaning that if you spend 50 grand in Q1 and 50 grand in Q2, on the Q2 report, you're reporting 100 grand. And you cannot report 50 grand on Q3 because that would be spending negative $50,000. If that makes sense. Again, I'm going through this really quickly. Apologize if you're getting lost on it. Another one, anyone listed as an approver will get notifications. That's true. We get a lot of annoyed comments from, hey, I got 75 emails yesterday from the system, and I don't know why. It's probably because you have some extra approval roles. And that's really common for folks that have been in the system for a long time, for years, and have stacked up roles over time. Again, we're going to talk about roles in a second, but if you're getting a lot of notifications, again, look at your roles is a big one. And then last one, and this is just always, years are confusing, and we'll go over this a little bit later as well. We use starting year, funding year, allocation year, reporting year. All of those could be different things in the system. So just years is something where it's one of the more complicated things about this system because there's so many types of grants and so many different types of programs, all with their own way of terminology and terms as in date terms. And it does get pretty confusing. So I just wanted to include this slide to get started because these are really common issues. We won't be going into too much of them, but just a good place to start. Okay, now let's dig into the actual meat of today's training, which is roles and permissions. Let's talk about roles and permissions. So Nova uses role-based access, which is to say that even if you have a Nova account, that doesn't mean much. You can get a Nova account, anyone can get a Nova account. You can actually give someone a Nova account as a project lead. You could invite someone through the kind of contacts page on a lot of programs. You can invite someone directly to Nova, give them an account, and make them a view-only contact on that account, on that plan. That will give them a Nova account, but they will not be able to do anything besides view the plan you're looking at and anything else in the system. There is a lot of visibility for anyone in the system with a .edu account. The differentiator is if you want to do anything, change, edit, submit, alter anything, you need the right role to do so. And that's where we get into this role-based access question. In order to actually do anything, you got to have the role to do it. There's two types of roles. One we call system roles and one we call project roles. System roles are set in the system. There's actually there's a list of system roles. We'll go over to the next page. A lot of them don't apply to you guys, but some of them do. We'll go over again. That's the next slide. Project roles are specific only to a project. System roles apply to everything. So a system role, for example, is institution project manager is the main system role we use for most things. That essentially, if you have the role of institution project manager for LA CCD, which is an institution, and the SWP program, then you will effectively be the primary contact or have the abilities of a primary contact for every SWP plan within the LA CCD network, within the LA CCD allocation. It's hierarchical. So that's a really common one, and that's a system role. It applies to everything regardless of the program or the plan. A project role, on the other hand, only applies to the project itself. So if you have a specific SWP, I'm just using SWP as an example. If you have a specific SWP project, like 2023 CDE funding 101, whatever it is, the roles in that project on the contacts page will only apply to that project. So kind of important. Here's another way to look at it. If you can see on this one, the system roles are in blue and the project roles are in purple. The project roles come in different flavors, but primary contact can be called project lead contact. It can be called project director in Perkins, but it's always just the person in charge of the project. It's always the one required contact at the very least on the contacts page, regardless of any plan. And that primary contact is the one that read, edit, submit plans, applications, fiscal reports, right? They have total control over those. You can set them on the contacts page. Or in the case of a lot of these programs, you can give that user the system role of institution project manager, and that'll automatically give them essentially the same abilities to edit, read, submit, interact with the projects and the fiscal reports for a specific institution and a specific program. And by institution, I mean a school, a college, a region, any, and we'll go over institutions next, actually, any sort of body, whatever it is, organization in the system is called an institution. And all these system roles are specific to an institution and a project or in a program. Similarly, fiscal reporter and institutional fiscal reporter. Fiscal reporter is what you're getting a lot of the plans on the contacts page. Institution fiscal reporter will give someone access to any fiscal reports for a given institution for a specific program. Similarly, you can actually have some programs have this fiscal report approver role that's actually in the plan itself. You designate who the approval of that's going to be on the contacts page. And then a lot of programs use what's called the certifying authority, which is a system role that, usually it's the RC chair or the K14 TAP, but someone who's centrally authorizing multiple programs. The CEO and the CBO, which is primarily used in Perkins, I think, and some others, these roles are also system roles and set at the system level. Selection committee chair is a system role. You can't do this on a project. You have to actually set this at the system level. Who's going to be the selection committee chair? This works for K-12 and any of the competitive programs. Reviewer is actually set at the grant level. It's actually kind of a weird mid-level. You actually, when you're creating a grant in the system, you drop in the reviewer names. It's a special role. TAP coordinator is also a special role, which is unique to how the TAP coordinator project is set up. If you guys were at the TAP coordinator training, the last one we did, we talked about how this entire program was kind of shoehorned in the K-12 architecture and doesn't act like anything else in the system. Also, system roles, chancellor's office, they've got a bunch. Regional monitors, program managers, admins, audits, CAPE TAPs are all set at the system level. And then the last thing down here, anything on the plan, I just put plan specific roles. So this is any of the other ones that are just at the plan level. So your alternative contacts, your view only contacts, your partner leads being like your essentially limited primary contact roles. They can typically, this works in SWP-R or SWP-K-12, where you might have partner agencies or collaborative partners. And the partner lead would be the ones that are able to fill out their plans and their reports specific to those partner institutions. So it's just a very, very complicated way of saying all of these things are going to govern the abilities of users in the system to interact with anything. So generally speaking, if there is a problem that someone can't do what they need to be doing, it's probably because their roles need to be changed. And if you all on this call are super users, right? If you're in the system a lot, doing things in a bunch of programs, make sure you have these system roles. Like if you're doing a lot on SWP or a lot on K-12 for multiple plans over multiple years and you don't have those system roles, ask for them. Put a help desk ticket in, ask for the institution project manager for LACCD or Pasadena College or whatever your institution is. That'll guarantee you have them in the future. And if you want to check who in your institution has what roles, you can do so. I'm going to switch a little bit to actual Nova. FYI, this is Sandbox. I think you guys can still see my screen if I'm looking at Nova. This is Sandbox, which means nothing in here matters. This is our safe environment, Sandbox. And this is the institution page. Everyone has access to this. It's not like you don't have to have any special roles. Everyone can see institutions. And this is where you can actually see who at your school has what role. This is a good way to check, who has the access you want or who to bug about it. couple things to note here. Let's talk about institutions. I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but institutions is Nova's way of calling anything that's like a group of organizations. So a vendor that you may have partnered with, that a school may have partnered with 6 years ago, is in the database as an institution, right? Every college, every LEA, every region, every nonprofit organization, whatever, they're all in this database. So it's a big, big database, which means these filters are really important to use. So to find a school, the first place I'd start is here. I wouldn't actually start here because this is, like I said, if I type in Los Angeles, it still pulls up 144 institutions, which does not help anyone. What you want to do is you want to choose type. This is where you actually say like, okay, four-year colleges, universities, right? College, you want to use college. That's just the colleges, right? This is actually much more of a curated list. They update this regularly because when they actually make grants and say it's available to colleges, this is the list the system uses. So this is like an actual curated list. That's where the type field is good. Similarly, if I go down to region, right, there's only 8 of them, which is, yep, interesting. Right, and these are the actual regions. This is the system's official regions. There's other things in here called LA region that are institutions. So don't get confused. It has to actually be type region and LA to be the right one. And similarly, you get the CCD one, right? The CCD, Community College District, where are you? Oh, it's on here. I just missed it. But the CCDs, the regions, and the colleges are all maintained because those are very tied into the work that the Chancellor's Office does, right? When they create a new grant and say it's available to regions, CCDs, or colleges, the system knows that. Similarly, they do an annual update from the K-12 side of CDS codes. So the anything called like a adult school or where are we? COE, elementary school, district, high school combination, right? High school district. Those are all straight out of CDS. So anyway, just to say that's regions is one of those central things in Nova, or sorry, institutions is one of those central things in Nova, similar to roles that trips people up because like I mentioned, the database is massive and you kind of have to know how to navigate it in order to actually make it work for you. But if you do want to actually look up, the reason we're looking at this page is about the roles. If you did want to look up, for example, who at, let's type college in Los Angeles. This will give us all the LA colleges. There's 19 of them. If we wanted to see who at Long Beach City College has what roles, we can click on them. We can scroll down and there's a project list. You can see everything the Long Beach College has too. That's also listed here. It's not sortable. It's not super useful because it's just a very long list of projects. But you can check over here on the users and roles side. And this actually does show all of the users that have Long Beach College specific system roles. So Starla is an institution manager. They have the ability to kind of modify the institution in the system, which is not a commonly used role. But then you can see that, you know, for this college, you've got a couple of people with certifying authority. You've got some folks doing adult ed, institutional fiscal reporter for K-12. These are all the system roles. Now, the college side is a little bit different than the CCD side for various reasons. But this is essentially the page where we find all the roles that people have associated with that college. So if you are at a college and want to make sure that you're keeping Nova clean from your end and make sure that everyone in here should be in here, you can do that on this page. Good way to check it. Give some housekeeping. And that just, you know, making sure the roles are good is one of the best ways to avoid problems in Nova. All right, that's the institutions page. Skipping ahead. All right. I just showed that in the actual system. I skipped over those slides. This is something that's very, very underutilized in the system. The system has the ability to transfer roles. So if, like over years, over like 5 or 6 years, a single user at a college with a lot of interaction in Nova, maybe they're overseeing like 2 or 3 programs, could have a lot of roles, right? You stack up your system roles and all the project roles and everything you're doing. You could have, 6 or 7 plans active at any given time. Transferring all those to a new person manually would be a pain. The system has the ability to essentially say, okay, Ryan is leaving, Kevin is coming in. I'm going to transfer all of Ryan's or part of Ryan's roles to Kevin, and done. It happens. It's like a 20-second thing, but no one uses it because no one knows it exists. It is the best thing for turnover. I just had this same conversation with one of the LACCD or the LA regional new staff who is new to her role. And we transferred the old roles to her, and it's easy. But essentially, it has to be done by an admin. It's a function on the admin page under users and roles. There's a little box that says transfer roles. This is the interface that pops up after you choose it, right? You say, like, you're in someone's account and you say, oh, I want to transfer roles from John Doe. It drops all of John Doe's roles down and says, which of these do you want to transfer over? And then you essentially can just clear out the old account, deactivate it while you're at it because they're leaving, transfer everything to the new person. And it's essentially everything. So like if you were a contact or a fiscal reporter from a plan from 3 years ago, that transfers over to the new person. Just a really clean way to handle turnover that people don't use very often, but really should. Yes. There's a question, would updating Cantex and Nova affect historical data of archive projects? Yes, it would. It'll change everything. So archive just is a way of saying they're inactive. They're not like frozen. They're just the system not letting you mess with them, but the actual contacts will still update, which is interesting from an auditing standpoint. But yeah, it changes everything. Well, actually, I take that back. When you choose, you have the option. So when you do this project roles, right, it'll list all the project roles. If there's some of them you don't want to transfer, you just don't. And that's just kind of I put the optional role here, right? When someone leaves, if you just want to clean everything transfer, they can do that with just the new user and the emails of the new and the old person. But they could also say, okay, give me everything on these five projects, as opposed to everything. Yeah. Anna, sorry, if I got that wrong. Anna, get your hand up. Oh, no worries. No worries. She's having issues with her audio. That is okay. I will go on just for now. All right. One other thing. Oh, Lindsay.
Hi, Ryan.
Hi, Lindsay.
I was looking down at my keyboard when you popped up where do you go to find the transfer roles option again?
If you're an admin, it's under users and it's under the admin menu, the users and roles menu. You actually click on a person's account. You look up someone. I didn't put this in a screenshot because most people don't have access to it that aren't admins, but you actually go to a person's account and up on the right-hand corner where it says either add role, there's a button next to it that says transfer roles. So it's on the way you would normally add a role to a user as an admin.
So if we're at the college, we're not going to have admin roles.
Okay.
So help desk.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
That's why it should absolutely be done. It would be nice. I mean, you could ask the chancellor's office to make this a role for an institution manager. They probably could do that, FYI. Maybe that's a good move, but as of now, it's a really simple thing. It's actually easier, frankly, than adding roles to someone because it's a clean transfer. You just say, put these on someone else. So it's a 5-minute help desk ticket for them to do.
Thank you.
Yeah. Another thing to add on the roles front is that they started doing this a couple of years ago. I think it was originally 2 years. Now it's 1. But if your account has not been active or touched for a year, they will nix it. Now, that doesn't mean it's gone forever. That just means it turns it into inactive. It doesn't actually show up in searches anymore. And there's some functionality problems that happen when you make an account inactive and it's attached to things. But that's what they do. So every beginning of every year, they pull a list of everyone that hasn't opened the system for the last year. It's a pretty quick process to see who's logged in, who hasn't, and then they delete them. But of course, nothing in Nova is ever deleted. That's one of your kind of basic system rules here. Nothing's ever deleted, so it is purely hidden. And if you get back in, if you haven't, a lot, this is pretty common among reviewers or people that only approve things once in a while. If you find your access doesn't work anymore and you think it should, you tell the help desk, hey, I can't get into my account. They just click a box that says not restore, even like activate essentially account, and then you're back in. It doesn't delete in your roles, doesn't delete in your history. It just kind of hides your account and makes it inactive. All right, questions? See funding opportunities. That's interesting. Can't in Nova? It's not really a thing. You can see anything. Like if you just trolled around for the projects, you could see funding opportunities, but you can't, like there's no opportunities pending or open things. That would be on the Chancellor's Office website, probably. Check memos. They usually put stuff on their memos website or post things that are like on the RFAs tab. But yeah. K-12 SWP R9 RFA round 9. The system once K-12 is open, let me switch back real quick. Once K-12 is open for round 9, which I think is not yet by any means.
Yeah, go for it.
We would click on it and see applications, and you could see, whether or not it's actually open. Right now, there are no competitive K-12 available, so it's not. But yeah, that's all outside of Nova. Once it's open, you can see it in here, but you won't be able to see it beforehand. Yeah. Sorry, Gabby. Wish I had better news for you. All right. But yeah, if your account's deleted, it can be restored, no problem. But this does happen. And they've been doing this every year, so it's a pretty constant thing that people deal with now. All right. Now let's talk about some fun features. A lot of this, the lead developer on Nova is named Ryan French, and we're both Ryans, and we worked together for many years on this. And he and I talked all the time about things that we wish people did more of, right? Like features that are super useful that were just never highly adopted or very used. And that's generally what we're going to talk about. So yes, let me just real quick. Yeah. And so just to keep in mind, one of the things that's important to remember of the history of Nova is the first 5 years or so, everything was custom programs, right? All the development was building out SWP, K-12, adult ed, Perkins, nursing. It was all hard coding these custom programs. Then in about 2021, 22, they started building more reusable features. They built a way to make programs as opposed to hard coding them. There's like a common toolkit that the program managers can use to make new programs and make new grants with workflows and shared functionality and these features and all kinds of things. So the system actually now has the ability to do a lot of self-service features, which is not how it was originally intended. And for the last 4 years or so, they've been adding new stuff. They've been adding cool new features and new bells and whistles. Some of it gets used and some of it doesn't. So let's talk about some of the stuff that should be used more. The client edit mode is new, and this is pretty cool. This is I think it just got launched a few months ago or last year. It is applicable to most programs at this point. I don't think Perkins, but SWP is in there. All of the ones that use the shared functionality that I mentioned are in there. And it essentially allows, I'll show you this, it allows you to open up a plan to be editable, and make changes to it, close it back up, and net have to go through reapproving it. So there had some limited version of this before, but this is actually a pretty big deal because that historically has been a pain. So let's go through that. I'm actually going to switch to Real Nova. Let's see if I can't find a good example of this. So let's look here. I'd go to R&I, which is one of the, so Rebuilding Nursing Infrastructure is one of the programs that uses kind of the shared small program builder functionality. It's built off a set of tools, just like a lot of other programs. Let's go down and just find one of the LA ones down here, and I'll show you a couple things. So first off, I'll show you the edit. So if you go down to preview and submit, there's this new edit button. You hit the edit button. It looks like nothing happened because you don't do anything. But if I click on an individual work plan or individual step, you'll see that even though it is still certified up here, I can change things. I can make any changes I want. Keep in mind, this is sandbox, so doing this doesn't matter. But I can make changes. And that's true for any step the whoever's setting up the program manager, any step they indicate is editable. It's an optional setting. They can say only the work plan is editable and everything else is not in this phase. Or they could say just the budget and nothing else. It's all set on the back end. But this functionality gives the managers the ability to say, these are the things can be edited without having to go through the decertify, recertify, reapproval process, right? So when it comes to things like narrative fields, make changes, you'll see over here, there's this arrow. If I want to restore what I changed, I can just click the arrow, make more changes, click the arrow again, it'll reset it back. No big deal. The budget side of things is a little bit different. The budget allows me to move 20% of my budget by default. Now that percentage is modifiable, variable, that's the word I was going for, is variable by the program managers when they're setting this up. But the default is 20%. And so you'll notice like the modification limit is 340 of 850, which I think is 20%. Previously, I think I've been messing around this one before, but you'll see that somebody has modified 72,000 of it, which means I can only modify an additional 267. And I can do that by just, going here and saying, I want to move 30 grand from here to here. You'll notice that when I did that at first, it gave me some red notes up here because you actually do, depending on the program, you have to budget all of your money. That's a rule. But you'll see like it red, green, it makes it very clear what's been moved. Once I'm done making all my changes, and I'll just make one here for the funsies. Once I'm done making my changes, you can see that the ones I changed have this little pencil next to them. I would go back down to preview and submit. And I can either exit the edit mode. This will just put me back in the, it'll close it back up and nothing will have changed. If I were to exit edit mode and then go back into edit mode, it would save all my edits, but they wouldn't be official yet. I can discard changes, which just discards my edits and returns it back to a normal certified plan, not in edit mode. And if I go back into edit mode, it'll all be like it is now, or like it was before I started messing with it. Or I can hit submit changes and save it. When I do this, the monitor is sent a message saying, hey, somebody updated this. They don't have to do anything. They don't have to actually approve anything, but they're notified that a change has been made, which is cool. So they can come back and look at it. They also are given a synopsis of the changes. You saw that Nova kind of made it very clear what had changed in the budget. So it'll show what's changed in the budget. It'll redline anything that's changed in the narrative stuff. It'll also save a PDF to the application history, which is right here, which has the whole kind of chronological order of everything that's happened on the plan and routinely saves PDFs every time something is certified. So it does the same thing when you save and edit. It saves a PDF so the monitor can go back and say, oh, that's what changed. Okay. And kind of clearly see it quickly. So that is editing. That's plan editing. And like I mentioned, this is rebuilding nursing infrastructure. It's entirely, this functionality doesn't automatically apply to everything, but when they are setting up these grants, when the chancellor's office staff is setting up grants, they can determine what's editable, what that percentage of editability of the budget is, and it's usually a percentage of the overall budget that it's set by. Which steps can change. They have the ability to do that, but it does look like they're using it pretty substantially. So it is creating a nice way to make alterations to your plans and budgets without having to go through the whole reapproval process, which, it's a pain. All right. I like doing these in the system as opposed to using my screenshots. So I'm skipping through my screenshots. Oh, this is one more thing. For SWP specifically, the plan edit mode, you can essentially move money around between plans. So this is really only for SWP because it's the only one that has that, like the CCD gets the funding, gives it to the colleges, and has the ability to kind of move it around. There is no college there's no college allocation on the SWP side. There's budgets for each college that we know, but there's no like this college gets 100 grand, this college gets 50 grand, because that's at the CCD level. The chancellor's office doesn't control that. But one of the things the chancellor's office does control, and one of the limitations the system has with SWP, is that the CCD cannot certify more dollars than it's allocated. So that means that if your allocation is $1 million and you have $900,000 already approved in plans, and you try to approve a plan with 150, the system will stop you. Because it's not going to let you certify above your CCD's allocation limit. Works the same way on the regional side for the regional allocation. They're not allowed to certify plans that would increase them above their allocation limit. Why that relates to this is that this allows you to move money around between plans and resize the budgets and shift money around without recertifying the plans and still impact your CCD or your region's SWP overall allocation limit. So it is a good way. It's a much easier way. It used to be kind of a pain to decertify a bunch of plans, adjust budgets, and you have to recertify them in the right order so you never actually go over the allocation limit. This is a little bit more flexible way to do that if you guys have had that problem before. So it's a nice little feature. User commenting. This is fun and pretty new. Not a lot of people use it yet. I'm going to go back to my example here. So this actually works either if you are in edit mode or in just draft mode, normally changing things. But I'm going to use edit mode just for the sake of already being here. And if I go to the work plan, and let's say I want to think about this passage more, I want to say, hey, Lindsay, I'm picking on you because I see your name up there. If I want to say, hey, Lindsay, I have questions about this particular passage, I'm going to click this comments button up here. And then when I choose the passage, see this little orange line that appears around it and this little button right here. I click the button and I say, oh yeah. And I say, oh, come on. If it works, it works. Oh, it doesn't want me to actually put a comment in. That's unfortunate. Well, normally, I don't know why. Normally it allows me to enter something here. This was working half an hour ago. Apologies. Here, let me just switch back to my screenshots because last time I was working it was working fine. Yeah, you can just add things in here, for example. You highlight it, you hit the button, you write a comment. And you can reply to comments. One of the things you can do is you can @ people, which is kind of nice. I can say like, at, that's really funky. Huh. Yeah. You can at people. So I can say like, at Mark, can you please provide input on this passage before I submit this plan, right? When you at someone and leave their name in a comment, it sends them a notification in the application. So it's just a really nice way if you're working with a team of saying, hey, Ryan, I need your input on this. It'll send them a link directly to the page. They can go right to it. You can reply to comments, you resolve comments. It's based on kind of your basic Word commenting suite. And again, this is something that is not on by default, but it is something to be turned on when the Chancellor's Office creates the grant. So if you like this and you don't see it on a program, bug them about it. That's going to be a theme. All right. That's the commenting piece. Let's talk about dates and messaging. There's another one that could be used a lot more. This has been around for a few years, actually. And so dates and messaging is Nova has on the back end of every both program and grant. So a program obviously is SWP is a program and a grant is SWP round 6. And at both levels, you can set dates and messaging. So what that means is if I say that Perkins is a good example, Perkins every year has headcount happen around the same time. You can have a message going out at the beginning of every year in February, whatever headcounts do, and set that at the Perkins program level, and it pings all of the district CBO, or I can't remember the role exactly, that's in charge of headcount, but you could ping that role with a message to go and do your headcount. And that can be an automated message that goes every year. And when you set that event, that trigger in the calendar, it also pops up that date on the common Nova calendar / the dashboard you'll see on the first page when you log in. So setting that date of headcount being due at the Perkins level would allow them to both have it on the calendar and automatically ping people responsible. The system can do that. A lot of programs use this pretty successfully. A lot of them don't. It's inconsistent. One of the things to always point out when the subject of deadlines is that all deadlines are soft in the system except for competitive applications. It's the one thing that the system will stop you from doing something if it's over the deadline. But like fiscal reporting and plans being due and things like that, deadlines are not a thing that the system will have any functionality. They're suggestions according to the system, not according to the Chancellor's Office. Pretty big distinction. But this is just an example of a dashboard here. As you can see, some of these programs, like there's this Adult Ed has them, CFAD is due. There's some test ones people are messing with. This was from Sandbox. But you see there's some Emoja deadlines coming up. If they put dates on these programs, they will show up on this dashboard. If your program is not doing this, bug your monitors, make them put the dates in. What it also does is it pops up this action items. So if you have dates associated with some of your fiscal reports or your plans being due, and those dates are coming up, it will tell you that this is due, like, these two examples, this was due a couple of years ago. It looks like this one just got reopened for some reason. If it's an old plan that is already been due and it's already been submitted and you reopen it, it'll pop up here. And this one's coming up soon, right? This one's coming up, will be due. I think I chose a random account for this one. But just an example, if the dates are in here properly, they show up in both the action item list and your calendar. So it's a really useful tool. But like I mentioned, it's very unevenly used. Looker. If y'all are familiar with Looker, Looker is the tool that Nova uses for all of its reporting. All the data from Nova gets pushed up into, there's a cloud environment, and then kind of pushed into Looker. So Nova's not a data out tool by any means. It's a data in tool. We do all reporting into Nova. Numbers get crunched and everything comes out the back end of Looker. The regions all have access. always have. They have accounts. The chancellor's office only has a limited number, I think it's like 50, but those are distributed amongst their staff in the regions. And that's how we get data out of the system. So how does that matter for y'all? Well, embedded dashboards. So even if you don't have a Looker account, you can still make use of the embedded dashboards in Nova. And for that matter, embedded dashboards elsewhere. You can embed a Nova or you can embed a Looker dashboard anywhere you want. We would embed them routinely inside the Chancellor's Office Teams environment on some of the pages for the monitors. We're just starting to do that, but you can embed these things outside of Looker, maybe even into websites. But what that essentially means is an embedded dashboard is a powerful thing. And right now, there are places in the system where these things live, but no one uses them because they're frankly not great. SWP and Adult Ed are the exceptions. They actually have really good, and they spent a good amount of money, honestly, on building these things out. So Adult Ed uses heavy use. If you look at the Adult Ed program, they have all kinds of analytics embedded tools in there, and that's all stuff that's coming from Looker. SWP, as another example, if you look back at the system and look at the SWP, analytics page, which doesn't exist for this account. Oh, interesting. I'm using my test account. SWP does have an analytics page, which is not showing up here, but this is the K-12 one. Sorry, back to the SWP one though. The SWP one, that's annoying. You don't have access to it, which is a thing. It's hidden for most users apparently, but it's actually in there and it's full of good information. We built it out a few years ago, but most of them look like this. This is the K-12 analytics page, which has not been touched for a long time. Not a lot of things on this are actionable, as you can tell. There's like a list of plans. There's not a lot here that's super useful, but it could be. And I'm pointing this out because, this is the standard analytics page. This is the one that's shared for all of the small programs. It's kind of a placeholder, doesn't really do much. This is the K-12 one, like I was just showing you. And this is one I made a couple years ago. And I'm showing you all of this about Looker because I think the Chancellor's Office is really missing an opportunity to have Looker be more useful. This, just as an example, is I made this for LA or for LARC in 2024, early last year. And this, compared to the ones we just saw, like plan spinning approval is the first thing, then you have fiscal report spinning approval. This dashboard has project lead contacts for all the SWP plans that are sortable by region. So if you're a regional or if you're a regional TAP or PC, you could just, and you want to know who's the lead contact, you can just look down the list and find them. All of these plans pending approval and fiscal reports pending approval are linkable to the place in Nova. So you can actually link directly to the thing you need to approve. Like this one is an example of what Looker dashboards could be if we're using them properly. And there's a lot more the Chancellor's Office has that they use, but none of them are public facing. They haven't actually put any in the system on these analytics pages, which have existed for a long time, but they just haven't really invested into building those out to be user-facing resources. They're just, again, an underutilized feature. So the question is, can you request the analytic dashboard extras for your region? There's like 2 or 3 licenses for all of LARC. So getting into Looker, no. But you could absolutely request that the Chancellor's Office updates the K-12 analytics page with this exact dashboard, which frankly would be a good thing. Or that the Chancellor's Office updates some of the analytics pages, because a lot of them are 4 or 5 years old. And the system has changed a lot in the 4 or 5 years. And a lot of those reports just don't work anymore, or they're pointed to old data models or out of date. Just the whole Looker dashboards all throughout Nova need work. And it's such a thing that could be so useful to all of you, but it's just something that is not being updated or not being looked at right now. It's just not a priority. And that's partially because people don't know it should be, and it really should. Okay, two more reports that I was going to point out. One is this institution reporting. You can see this if you go into both the SWP L&R. Institution reporting is, if I go down to, I wonder if I can see it on this account. Fiscal reporting, yeah, I think so. This institution reporting right here is really helpful if you are with a certain college. Like if you're at the regional or the CCD level, it's one thing. But if you're at like, I'll just pull an example. It takes a second to load. If you're at one of LA Trade Tech or Harbor, and you want to just see all the SWP local plans that your specific college is a part of, this will allow you to do that. So let me find a good one. East LA. Hit the report institution page. And this is going to give me every single plan that East LA is a part of for SWP local within a certain reporting year. So if I just say, I want to know everything that I should be tracking, let's say overdue, right? Because this is all stuff that is from last year. So reporting year 24-25, there were 2 active SWP local plans for East LA in that period. You can see here that they still need to submit Q4 from this one. These are both submitted, but they still need to do Q4. You can actually scroll down, and they could even do it from here, right? Here's Q4. Here's the report they haven't done yet. Instead of actually going into the right plan, into the fiscal report, they could just do it right from this page. So this is a nice function just to kind of get a better understanding without having to dig through all the plans, just to see what your college specifically needs to do. It's a nice way to do it. Nice, easy way to do that. That again, underutilized, but probably pretty helpful for East LA. If I'm without having to know about these two ones specifically and go into the plans or fiscal reporting the hard way. The other one on that page is this allocations versus budgets reports. This is another embedded dashboard from Looker. There's one for SWP-L and one for SWP-R. These need to be updated, as you can see. They're old, but this originally was made so that at the CCD or the regional level, you can see kind of what you've budgeted versus what you have been allocated. So it's meant to be a comparison of those two. This came out of a lot of work involved with, like I mentioned before, that cap on what the regions or the districts can approve up to their allocation. So this was a tool meant to help kind of them calculate and see what in Nova, what's been submitted versus what's been certified versus what they have left in draft form, what the budgets for that look like, and how they're doing. This needs to be updated, but at one point it was a helpful report. It needs to be, again, underutilized feature in the system. Another one on that same tab, SWP closed plans. We're running out of time, so we'll go through this quickly, but no one uses it. They should. Closing a plan that if you haven't spent all the money, will automatically return that money back to the allocatable pool. So if you have 50 grand left and it's just sitting there and you're sitting on that plan and not closing the plan out, that 50 grand is not going to be reallocatable unless you either close the plan or recertify the plan with a zero budget, which is not possible. You cannot recertify something with a zero budget. So the better way to do it is to close the plan, thus returning all that money back to the pool, and it can be reallocated. You do that, you close plan, right? You say funds have not been fully expended. One thing to note when you're doing this is when it's going to ask you for a date of when the plan stopped. This right here, this plan end date, you entered on the previous screen. If you set this the day after the last time you submitted a fiscal report, it will make you do more fiscal reports. If you submit it on like today's date and there's been 2 or 3 fiscal reports between today's date and when you actually stop spending money, it will make you fill out all the fiscal reports until today's date. So just a fun thing. If you stopped spending money a year and a half ago and you're closing your plan now, make sure you put this plan end date in the right place. Okay, planned improvements. I got a couple minutes left, so I'll go over this fast. They remodeled the help desk page. It's more of a knowledge base now. There's videos and documents. There's a meeting minutes in there right now. I think you're going to see a little bit more transparency with kind of the back or the how the chancellor's office is managing this program with where they're uploading some documents from that, which is nice. And you also see a lot of, I think the idea is to make this into a real knowledge base. So help desk articles and a lot of the guidance that's currently in memos and things will be in here. So that's kind of a planned improvement that they're going to be iterating on in the future. They're going to integrate the help desk into the dashboard. So one of the planned improvements is to have a little widget on your dashboard that says, here's your help desk tickets. You can communicate directly with the help desk through there, see the status of your tickets. Pretty nice. New features for the small program builder. This is kind of that central toolkit for building out programs. You all were familiar with the old nursing program, the ability to extend by quarters. That's something that's coming. The ability to modify offers in competitive grants and to offer a second round if they want to is coming as well. It's a trick sometimes, like if you don't spend all your money in one round, what to do with it. There's some improvements coming as far as that goes. Allowing reviewers to edit reviews also in competitive applications. Right now, once you edit a review or once you submit a review, you can't change it. Now they'll be able to change it up until the point where reviews are locked. So a little more flexibility for the reviewers. And yeah, competitive funding flexibility. Like I mentioned, they can actually change things, offer a second round if they need to. These are all going to be options. The monitors and the managers will have the ability to use them as they see fit. These are the programs that aren't going to have them yet. This is only for small fund builder. These are the ones that are custom built. They might add that same features to these maybe next year or the year after. These will come later. Okay, last thing, and I know we're at time. You all are the ones that are actually using the system. The chancellor's office will listen if you bug them. So they do listen to the field, but the field needs to actually tell them what to do. So like these I was just talking about, these exact things, these came out of feedback. They got the feedback, they're making system changes. So speak up, tell your monitors, tell your regional consortia, put a ticket into the help desk. That will help make the system better. Anyway, and yeah, last thing, you own it, right? It's owned by the chancellor's office. This is a custom program. There is no limitations on what it can do besides what they can pay for one, and also what people ask for. So it's sky's the limit. Anyway, that is everything. And sorry, I almost went over time, but if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Yeah, I think there's one in the chat, Ryan, before we close, if you want to take a look at it.
Oh, requesting analytic dashboards?
Yeah.
You probably could. You can request they be added to Nova. That's what I'm saying. Requesting the access from your region is a question for your region, but they're not going to be able to give you Looker access. Looker access is different. Access to the dashboards could be done. They could potentially embed those dashboards on a LARC resource, maybe. I mean, something to look into. Hypothetically, that's possible.
Absolutely. Yeah, Looker, I know that Looker has specific limits as it relates to the user. So yeah, we'll definitely work with Ryan to see if the dashboard option might work for our region, but more to come on that. And with that, thank you, Ryan, for leading such an informative and valuable session. And thank you all of you for your time, participation, and engagement today. Please be sure to register for the upcoming trainings. I put them in the chat, as well as our YouTube link with all of the playlist for all of these trainings. So thank you again for your partnership and for the important work you do every day to support our students, colleges, and regional workforce system. Have a wonderful week, everyone. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks all.